blessed with a championship prosperity the likes of which we have never seen, cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is Blursed.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to Blursed.
Hey, welcome
Hey
back.
guys,
Hey you guys, what's up?
what's up?
Welcome back to Blursed, everybody. My name is Hayden Cummins, and this is the Atlanta Sports Podcast with at least 10 listeners. Hey mom. That digs into Atlanta's haunted sports past while living gloriously in our prosperous present. I am here on Wednesday, August the 3rd, 2022 with Aaron and Blake once again. What's up, guys?
Not much. Glad that at least the past few days the heat has at least been a little lower. I don't know in my neck of the woods. Hayden, I know you've got the better side of that where you're at now.
Yeah, I recently moved to Colorado, so the humidity is actually a reasonable number these days, and the temperature is actually what it says on the thermometer, not like 15 degrees over that or what it feels like. So
Like,
that's
it's
been
88,
super nice.
but it feels like 112. Something like that.
Hey, but they
down
wouldn't
here.
call us Hot Atlanta for nothing. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's true. That's so true. Blake, what you got
Everybody,
going on?
Bleezy's back. It's been a week. The office AC's been out, so working from home the last 2 days been kind of nice. And also, like you said, it's been kind of cool recently. So it's been a couple of nice days to go out for a walk. My younger brothers got back in town from San Diego over the weekend. He said he got off the plane last night and got hit by that humidity wall. And he goes, "Yeah, you don't miss it in the summer because you just don't miss it."
God, the way you led into that, I was like, he got hit by a
By
car.
humidity.
Or like
He
what
stepped right
happened?
off the plane
Right
and
off
got
the tarmac
hit by a
and just-
truck.
This is a dark start to this episode.
I
Well,
love
blessed
it.
be the Blurs, you know.
Yes. So yeah.
Oh, also though,
Yeah, don't you have something, a little shout out, what little event we got going on?
Yeah, so the first ever Blursed Twitch live stream is coming up this coming Monday. What I don't even know the date of that. I guess it's a week, so the 8th, I believe, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch under our / Blur Sports, where we'll be hosting our draft night WrestleMania. So what this means is we've all in reversed order the finish of our fantasy football league last year selected a fighter of our choice to fight in a WrestleMania. The last to survive will get first pick in this coming year's draft, and from second place on so what I'm trying to say, whoever got second place will pick second, and so on and so forth, all the way back.
Yeah. The winner of the Royal Rumble will get first pick.
First pick, yes. And this is our second year doing it. We all believe this is the most fair. It's electric to watch. And this year, we're very excited to be hosting ourselves. We'll have some fire commentary. Hopefully, we'll bring in some of the guys we've been shouting out over the last couple of weeks. So we shout out Gray, shout out Rick. We'll actually have their voices. It should be a fun time. So please tune in. We'll put a little blitz out there for it. I'm excited.
Let it be known that we're not actually playing. We're not actually playing the game because that brings skill into it. So we wanted it to be basically random. And so they had the great idea to do this last year. So we just all watch a simulated WWE fight, and it is extremely fun. And it is as ridiculous as it sounds, but it is so exciting.
I'm pretty sure last year's winner was in there, like the third person in the ring, and they just beat everybody. Like, because it's really RNG based on like when your fighter goes in the ring and whether they're going to stay in for a while.
It was down to the neck. So Frank had Andre the Giant, and I had the Undertaker. And it came down to just us two, and they duked it out.
Was it? Did you win last year?
No, Frank. Luckily, Frank won, or else I would have had the curse that is Christian McCaffrey.
That's right. Is Undertaker, was he the one that was in there like almost the whole time and he lost at the end? Is that what happened?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the Undertaker me and the Undertaker were
y'all together,
one and the same.
Yes.
So yeah.
I would say for that event last year, I remember
I've got to take her again. So
yeah, I chose a different fighter because mine let me down last year. I picked Batista last year, and this year we got John Cena. So we'll see if we get. I try to stick with the superhero kind of theme. But I'll say it was. I remember last year
he's an anti-hero, but that's fine.
Right.
Yeah, but he still saves the day. I don't even need to speak about last year because you know what? This year John Cena's going to win. Hopefully.
Well, everybody tune in if you want. We'll have it saved out there on YouTube afterwards for sure. But it should be fun and just straight goofy. Another side note, we're changing up our show format a little bit. We're going to be moving to 2 episodes a week, but the second episode is going to be our Blursed of the Week segment. We just wanted to dedicate a little bit more time to Atlanta sports and then a little bit more time to our special subject each week. So that's kind of what the format's going to be moving forward. So
Also, you heard them, 2 episodes. We're bringing two hot segs. Wait,
Yeah.
there's a lot of hot segs in these episodes, but we're
yeah.
bringing it all to you twice a week.
We are specialists at hot segs and having them.
I think we're getting better at having hot segs.
yes, but except the time management part. So that's why we.
Yeah.
Guys,
Long and hot.
what are we
that's-
talking about today?
Well, so I'm gonna be just like last week. We're gonna do a quick little recap. Recap's not even the right word. I'm going to tell you a bit about the Atlanta United game that occurred, and then we're gonna dive back into another UGA football preview. We're gearing up for football season. I think we're under.
It's this month.
Yeah. What is it? I thought it was like September. Either way, we're gearing up toward kickoff or the Chick-fil-A Classic against Oregon. So last week we looked at the defense a good bit. We covered some about the running back. So this week we're going to be looking at the wide receiving core and how exciting they are coming up. Blake, what do you got?
So real quick, week 0, which is considered the first week of college football, is August 27th. It's a Saturday. I'm not sure if there's any games going on, but that's considered week 0 for this year's.
This should be
football.
normally like Hawaii plays some bullshit game in Australia. And that's
there we
probably
go.
what will happen.
So there we go. Football starts this month. What I have come to you is I got that good D. And what do I mean by that? I got that Dean P's defense. That's all right, Hayden's mom. You can listen to this. It's a PG. So we're gonna be talking about Dean Pease and his history as a defensive coach and him bringing this new culture into Atlanta. I'm also gonna hit on a couple of Hawks headlines. And when I say headlines, they're nothing major, but there's been fun stuff happening this past week in Hawks.
There was that cool clip of them at that
so we're gonna get into that. So yeah, all we gotta say is backboard dunk, and that will be a little teaser for what we're gonna talk about.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what we got. How about you, Hayden?
Well, just like every week, we're going straight to the Braves. So let's just go right to it if you guys don't mind. Then we'll
Let's get
catch anything else on the back end.
Yes, sir.
As they say.
All
right. Yeah, so we need to talk about the trade pieces first, I think. So I named this segment after Austin Riley, so I'll unveil that when we get to him. But there's just been so much going on the last 24 hours with the Braves that I'm going to skip down.
The last hour and a half, man.
We're going to discuss this trade deadline, which has been pretty nuts. And, like, the MLB has really changed the last few years around the trade deadline and, like, how crazy it's been. I mean, just looking at the Braves ourselves, it turned the corner for our franchise last year and led us to a World Series title. So this year, not quite as much big movement, I would say, but definitely still some for us. I'll start off by just reading off a couple of these trades. Smaller pieces like Ihire Adrianza. He was on our team last year, so I should know that, but he didn't play that much.
He's a former
Adrianza. There he is. But yeah, so he was playing for the Nationals this year. He plays second in outfield. He's a utility man, familiar face. Everybody knows him. So Cano got DFA'd, so he's gone. So it's a little bit of an upgrade from Cano.
For sure.
From the ghost of Cano.
The ghost of Cano.
So we
Ghost
traded
of Cano, new band name, I call it.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yes. Anyway, go ahead.
No longer canoeing.
I call that one.
All right. We traded Trey Harris, who's a 26-year-old outfielder who's kind of like he's been in AAA for like 3 or 4 years now, so he's kind of like a quad A player. So maybe he'll get elevated to the Nationals team as they're basically a minor league team in the majors this year. But no, not really a big piece for us. So
yeah, the Nationals, they gave away every player they could give away. I felt like
they're in full rebuild mode. So we'll see it over the next few years how long that takes or if it pays dividends.
What's crazy about the Nationals, I don't know. Can I talk about this now, or do you want to keep?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, wasn't Chris Hayes crazy about the Nationals? If you look back 5 years ago, and we talked about this, how they had Bryce Harper, and they also had Anthony Rendon and Max Scherzer, and they've had all these pieces over the years. They win that World Series after Harper leaves. And now 5 years later, none of those players are there. They're all making big impacts on other teams. And I don't know, it kind of just shows you that if you don't handle your window correctly, you may be one and done. And
I don't know. I get your take there, Blake, but I respect it as we hinted on, because it's like not like the Braves, where they're not a storied franchise like we are, where we want to keep this window open. They were like, "Yo, we got one, we're done. We're gonna be coasting for the next 20 years."
It just reminds me though of like I kind of almost early Braves, 90s Braves, where you have a great team that probably could have won a couple championships and you only got one out of it. So it's like what could have happened, but you did get your one. And so honestly, very similar to like the Lakers, I feel like right now. LeBron goes there, they get that one ring, and ever since then they've been bad, and it's probably going to be like that till he leaves. So, what will you do for that one ring?
It was a half of a ring, but yeah,
it's pretty wild the amount of talent that they had, and like they kind of came out of nowhere in 2019 to win the title, and like now looking back at who all was on the roster, they have Juan Soto, who just got traded to the Padres, funnily enough. And
honestly, thank God the Padres and not the Mets or the Dodgers.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the Dodgers for sure.
God.
But they had Juan Soto, Bryce Harper in those days. Well, that was the first year Bryce Harper left, but I mean, he was still there around the same time. Strasburg, Corbin
Scherzer,
Burns,
Anthony Rendon.
And like
that starting lineup was nuts.
It's very important you pay the right people, though. So they paid a couple players big, like Strasburg, and then let others walk, and Strasburg's been basically hurt the whole time, and Corbin Burns has been awful. They can't even get anybody to take on that contract. So that's why you got to be careful with who you're handing out contracts to, and what kind of financial burden you're putting on yourself.
100%.
So let's get back to the rest of these trades. Robbie Grossman, who I mentioned last week on the podcast, so I'm going to toot my own horn there.
Absolutely.
We picked him up. He's having a pretty bad year for his standard, which I say AA looked at and thought, hey, there's a value. So he's going to be an outfielder for us, switch hitter. But as many people on Twitter pointed out, he has great splits versus left-handed pitchers. So
there it is.
He's batting tuning in left field with Eddie Rosario.
He's batting 364 or something like that against lefties this year, which is
exactly
what Rosario struggles with. So it's perfect, honestly.
And another, this one's pretty crazy. We traded Chris Anglin, who he was pitching in low A for us with a 5.93 ERA. He's pitching in low A with a 5.93 ERA. I was like, how did they even push that? So it's essentially a cash swap. Like I don't know, like maybe the Tigers GM's just like, just give me something so I can
I need a reason to give this guy away to you.
So it's pretty crazy, just like the looking at that. But so hopefully he comes in and can make a difference, help our outfield out a little bit. And then last night, really late on the East Coast, Will Smith got traded, which was a little bit of a surprise. He was traded to Houston for Jake Odorizzi, who's a starting pitcher. He's not bad. He's a little bit older. He has 12 starts this year.
Wasn't it also in part like because the Astros were doing kind of like a 6-man rotation, and with him being the 6th man?
Yeah, they just had a little bit of extra depth for their starters. Right. They wanted to add a left-handed pitcher for their bullpen. Why they chose Will Smith, we'll never know.
But I love it.
It solved like 2 problems for us. It gave us like an insurance policy to Ian Anderson, and also Jake is he could be a great long relievers pitcher, which lets you free up the space to move Jesse for the next trade you're talking about. But also it helped us get away from the Will Smith, like, what do we do with him? Because you're paying him to be a high leverage guy. You don't trust him in the high leverage. And it's probably bringing a weird dynamic in your bullpen where there's a lot of guys trying to figure out where they sit and where they stand. And by getting Will Smith out, you move him off from this contract, and you also free up your bullpen.
Do you know what his record is, Odorizzi's?
No, take a look. I know his ERA is 3.75, so it's pretty
like a 5.6 or
serviceable.
It's let me look.
I was just saying it's not the like the biggest deal for pitchers. I was just curious, but yeah. Either way, I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. He's 4-3.
4-3 this year. Yeah.
And
he's also pitched in the bullpen
a deceptive stat too for starting pitchers. But yeah, it's good that he can come out of the pen. He would definitely be doing that in playoff time. With our schedule coming up, we actually have double headers on the next 2 Saturdays. I believe this upcoming one being against the Mets, we have a 5-game
Five-game series.
Yep. So that's going to be a huge turn for us, and I feel like this may have been a contributing factor. Like, all right, the Mets have a super easy schedule; they're rolling. And
we got to hit them.
If we're gonna win this division, we have to take it. We're 3.5 games back right now, and we gotta start beating Mets and putting them in their place. So we need to have a good series, and we're gonna see a 6-man rotation here for the next couple weeks, and then,
which helps also get Spencer Strider into the playoffs.
Yes,
bringing down that load.
Gets his inning count down without having to actually limit it.
Yeah. They won't admit that as the team. They don't want their competition knowing that, but I definitely think that's a contributing factor. But yeah, so Will Smith is gone, and he's gonna always be like a figure in Braves lore and history now, because he was the man that guided us through the playoffs, and he was untouchable, which kind of came out of nowhere last year too.
Yeah,
and he reverted back to what we expected.
Probably why
he
Houston
did it when it counted, man.
That's probably why Houston wanted him. I mean, he shut the door on them. He literally
that's a good point.
World Series. I mean, like you said, he'll be enshrined as a World Series winner as a Brave, and he was the end of the night shift, and he literally pitched perfectly.
You bring up a good point. What if they're not even planning on bringing him out of the pen at all?
Until the post?
No, not even that. They just stash him so that if we rematch with him, he can't come out and hurt him.
Oh my gosh, so much funny stuff on Twitter about this, like about how Houston may not have watched him at all since the World Series.
They're just scarred from last season.
Yeah, so like they're just assuming that he's that pitcher still, but he obviously hasn't been this year. But best of luck to him until we play them. All right, moving on to the next trade. So Dealing Smith, they kind of left a weird hole in the bullpen for the higher leverage innings. And right at the buzzer today, like really a couple minutes after the deadline, it was announced. The Braves traded Jesse Chavez and Tucker Davison for Raziel Iglesias, who's been the closer for the Angels the last few years. He has around a 4 ERA this year and 16 saves, but he's a very good pitcher. He has a ton of saves over the last 2 years. And really it's just adding bullpen depth and high leverage depth. Kinley's been up and down injured of late the last few months, and so it's kind of closer depth too, just to make sure that we're covered in that position, even with Kirby Yates coming back to us here soon. What do you guys think about that acquisition?
Oh, I think it's a huge acquisition. I mean, he was a longtime closer for the Reds. I remember him there, and I think the Yankees, I don't know if they traded for him or signed him, but I know it was a big move when he went to the not Yankees, Angels. I know it was a big move when he went to the Angels originally. I think it's an upgrade over Will Smith. We also get 3 years a contract on him or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually what I was pulling up right now. I was pulling up his contract. He's making $16 million a year, and yeah, he's under control through 2025, which is a very long time for a bullpen arm, and that's kind of the contract we just got out of with Will Smith. But what it says to me is that we're definitely not going to be re-signing Kenley Jansen now, and this is the guy that's going to be our close, even if he's not this year.
Kirby Yates is also on our team for the next 2 or 3 years as well.
Sure, yeah, and he's coming off that Tommy John, so we'll see. I guess there will be kind of an internal competition for closer, but we have guys locked up, and that's good for the back end of our bullpen.
This also showed me too that I think the Braves may be willing to spend more money next season, because, like you said, it's a $16 million contract we're going to carry over in the next 3 years. We just signed, and we're going to get more into it, that $21 million a year contract on Riley. So it just shows you that the Braves might be finally putting their money where their mouth is, in the sense that, wow, so we're the World Series champions, so we actually need to spend money like we're World Series champs.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been printing money since the playoff run last year. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure we lead baseball with the amount of sellouts that we've had at Truist this year. I mean, and obviously Braves country is huge, and dominates the South. And yeah, Ted, TBS coming up clutch and still making us money. So hopefully, yeah, we do start spending that a little bit. And so that was all the trades that we made. So long to Jesse Chavez, who's a solid player, and shout out to AA once again. He parlayed Sean Newcomb to the Cubs for Jesse Chavez earlier this year, who we now turn around for like a pretty good closer. Like, it's pretty crazy, like how he does this stuff. And we haven't given up really anything
We mentioned Tucker Davidson last week, and I asked what happened to him, and you're like, he's there, and there he goes. Like,
I think I said who?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he's just another one of those guys that, kind of like Bryce Wilson was, he just never really got a solid chance in our rotation to stay up. He was always the next guy up if somebody got injured or something happened. And then when Strider came along this season out of nowhere, it's just like he's just always going to be buried in AAA. So why not deal some of those guys that are major league ready, but they're just not going to be able to break into our rotation.
So here's your Blursed fun fact of the week. Jesse Chavez has actually been traded the most times in Major League Baseball history at 10 times in his 15-year career.
My.
That article was going around on Twitter like before the trade deadline too. So I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Right at the last minute. So you feel for him, but
also listen to our
he's used to
bullpen.
it.
Our bullpen now. Right-handed pitchers, Kenley Jansen, Raziel Iglesias, Kirby Yates, Colin McHugh. Left-handed pitchers, AJ Minter, Tyler Matzik, Dylan Lee. And then on IR, you got Luke, what's his name? Luke Jackson. Yeah, which, I mean, he would also be on there. Like, you have 8 pitchers that could almost be a closer for every other team in baseball.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, and like that's going to be a strength of ours. And you know, there's a couple moves that we definitely needed to make to combat the Mets, and the Phillies made a bunch of moves today too. So we want to be as prepared as possible and make sure that we're going out guns blazing.
I was actually more impressed with the Phillies moves too than the Mets. Like, I feel like the Mets fan, if you're a Mets fan at the deadline, you're like,
Yeah, they're probably a little underwhelmed. Phillies, they did bring in a few players too. They got Noah Syndergaard at the buzzer there too, so that's a little.
They did.
Don't love seeing that because we're gonna need to pick up some wins against the Phils too. So we'll just have to.
Aren't they playing tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting the Phillies
2-game series.
Yeah, and then leading right into the Mets, right?
Yeah, we have tonight and tomorrow night's Phillies.
Yeah, so I mean, thing is, we're just gonna have to play good baseball, and we're gonna have to win the division. Nobody's gonna hand it to us. So it's a little bit different than in years past.
Exactly.
So I will say real quick, in my opinion, we are starting to spend money a little bit more, and there's a big name outfielder that is hitting the market this winter named Aaron Judge. And he is on pace for about 67 home runs this year.
All rise.
Legitimately, 67 home runs.
That's insane.
And we need somebody to fill that long-term hole. And with guys like Charlie Morton, Kenley Jansen, Adam Duvall, Will Smith is gone now, so he's part of that. But that's $50 million right there in itself that's coming off the books. If we want to make a run at him, we can. He's probably his market value is 8 years, $256 million, because he's going to be, I think 31 years old or 30 years old. But how fun would that be to add him to the lineup, and that really allow us to stay competitive and like in contention with the Dodgers and Padres?
I have a huge smile on my face because like it gets me super excited thinking about that. But I just don't want to let myself think about it because it doesn't seem like a thing the Braves do. And if we do it, it'd be electric. It just seems like he might go to the Dodgers. I don't know.
I mean, is
there no chance the Yankees re-sign him?
I mean, they could, but at this point, if I'm Aaron Judge, I'm hitting the open market and seeing how much money I can get. Kind of like Freddie, you know. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But anyways, speaking of a lot of money, Austin Riley got his extension. And now I'll tell you what the title of my segment was. Everyone kneel for our Thicc king.
Yes.
Austin Riley.
Yes, sir.
I bow for one man.
It's nuts the month that he had in July, and he bet on himself coming in this year too. It was just announced that he got a long-term offer at the beginning of the season. He didn't sign it. So he came out and he's putting up MVP numbers. He won NL Player of the Month for July. He broke the Braves record for most extra base hits in the month of July, which was held by Hank Aaron.
Yeah, that's incredible.
He set that record in 1961. So 60 years that record's been standing for the Braves. So that tells you like how good of a run that he's on right now and how good of a hitter he is.
Didn't he bat like 437 this month?
423 was his batting average.
Okay, yeah, it's something nuts.
And so he was tied with Hank Aaron going into his last at bat of July, and then he hits a walk-off double. So it really was just good from start to finish there. He was quite literally the best player in baseball in the month of July. And there's just so much value in developing talent in-house like that, and allows us to keep up with other big market teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers. And allows us to stagger when we pay our players. And so getting to that now, yeah, so he got a 10-year, $212 million contract. And so when you look at that, you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of money, to over $200,000 or $200 million.
Wait, you weren't wrong. It is over $200,000.
It is still correct. Still correct, but much less.
Nice.
But when you break it down, like per year, his average salary is $21 million per year. And so when you're looking at these big name players hitting the open market, they're making $30 to $40 million a year. And a guy like Juan Soto is going to be signing a $40 to $50 million contract per year.
And I mean, just look at what we were talking about a few weeks ago with the contract that's expected for our very own Dansby. I get that third basemen have a different market than shortstop, but still, he's going to look to get 27 to 30 himself. So it seems like a steal, honestly. For the long term at that.
I think you bring up a good point too. Talking about Dansby, it shows you, one, that the Braves do want to make these deals done before they get to the free agency year. Like that's like with Freddie when he walked. Not saying it's going to mean it's a walk, but you start to listen to other offers. It makes me feel like with Dansby, this shows you, like, look, 21's as high as we're going. Like 21 a year. Like that's what they gave Matt Olson. That's what they're giving Riley. So it makes you wonder, like, it's like if they'll offer him $21 million, but then it's like, but you're not putting the same numbers up as these guys. So I don't know. It's
a little bit of the difference is that Dansby didn't start showing out while he was still under arbitration years, really.
Right.
And so Austin had 3 more arbitration years, which essentially means that, like, we wouldn't come to terms with Austin's representation about what his salary was going to be this year. So the Braves submit a number, Austin Riley's team submits a number to a third party, and then they decide how much he should get paid based on his play. So now we get to skip those 3 years for Austin Riley, and now he's going to make $15 million when he probably would have made like 10 to 12 last year. So you buy out those years, and they're going to be willing to work into those long-term contracts.
I see. So it helps you in negotiations.
It helps the player get money sooner, which time value money. Shout out to all my finance bros at UGA. And also, I mean, there's security in that. And so, like, between Acuna, Albies, Olsen, and Riley, they're all locked up through 2027, none of them making more than $22 million a year.
That's
over
nuts.
that time span.
Wild.
It's just a huge cornerstone to our franchise, and it's really exciting because that just really elongates our window. And that doesn't even include guys that are like Strider and
here's other players,
Michael Harris, that they're just under team control for such a long time.
So is Bill Contreras, Kyle Wright, and Ian Anderson. Wild Bill. Yeah, all of those players are under contract until then.
It's exciting time to be a Braves fan for sure. We got all our pieces are in place, really, and so that now it's just they got to perform. Speaking of performance, I just wanted to mention real quick as we're wrapping up the Braves segment, Ian Anderson, his last start last week. What did he do? He was struggling. Everybody was calling for him to be demoted after he had a poor outing, and he decided that he was going to go out and have a hell of a performance. He didn't give up any runs over 7 innings, I think.
6 innings.
6 innings, which is good for him.
Yes.
He hadn't gone 6 innings since the beginning of June. But yeah, I mean, it's encouraging. He had like a career high 9 strikeouts or something like that too. And he only had 1 walk. So those are all crucial factors. One of the things he said is he kind of just said, fuck it, and I'm just going to throw it in the zone. And that's what you have to do. You have to dare them to make contact. And he did it super well, and it paid off for him, and hopefully we just see more of that as we go through the back half of the season.
Yeah, it was one of the stressful starts watching the game because, I mean, every game right now matters so much, especially when the Mets have continued to win since we've played them. So we're not been getting any ground on them. But also watching every inning, you're just like, is he going to mess up this inning? Is he not? When he got through the 6th inning, I wanted him to keep going, honestly, because you're playing a weak opponent, and I thought maybe the score was out of hand, I feel like, at that point, so like let him go. But I think they just wanted him to get that confidence and go, all right, nothing else. Like, he's confident. He did a good job. Let's take him out of there. He wins 6 innings.
Right.
Let's build off that.
Yeah, it's encouraging to see, and sometimes you just got to ride with your guys. I'm not declaring victory on that my statement from last week, but I mean, baseball.
But I
is
am.
But I am gonna do that.
I am, but baseball is such a long season. You just got to ride with your guys sometimes, and you can't just be making rash comment. You can make rash comments on Twitter, but we're not going to make rash decisions based on a couple bad outings. You got to see the body of work, and especially with these younger guys, let them work through it.
For sure. And we have the luxury of having the time to work through it. Not every team has that luxury. And so it's good that we did.
Right.
For sure.
As we're wrapping up the Braves segment today, I just want to say a noticeable move during the trade deadline was the Dodgers got Joey Gallo. And I'm so glad they got him and not us. Like, I did not want Gallo. I think Gallo was already playing a good lineup. So I don't know. I just felt like the Dodgers had a very underwhelming trade deadline. So do the Mets. Like, they both got players for sure, but not their typical. I mean, the Padres were the ones who came down with a big splash.
Yeah.
2 big splashes.
Big one.
They got Joe Hader too, right? His name? Josh Hader?
Josh Hader. That one was kind of surprising. The Brewers, who are, I think, in first in the Central, they traded the best closer in baseball.
Strange.
Yeah, so they did get a closer in return, and they got a couple prospects out of it, but it's just kind of a weird transaction.
Do you see their argument?
It's not a first place move.
Their argument was like, well, we're going to lose him next year anyway, so we just wanted to get support. And if you're a Brewers, like, why not trade to win now? Like, this is our. But if you don't think you're going to win,
the Braves were going to beat us in the division series anyway.
That's
it's not like
we're not going to beat the Padres, Dodgers, or Braves.
Look at their lineup. Look at our lineup. I honestly thought too that we were going to get Pearls back because the Giants have basically fallen out of their run, and the Padres just made that huge move. And I was like, man, the Pearls are coming home. But
yeah, there's a couple teams that kind of sat on their hands, weirdly enough, at the end of the trade deadline. There, the Cubs is the main one that comes to mind. Their players were hugging after their last game at Wrigley because they were pretty sure they were going to get traded. Wilson Contreras, Bill's brother, and Ian Happ. Neither one of them got traded. So weird choice by the Cubs there. They're just going to walk.
Cubs Twitter was pretty excited. They were like, our boys. There's their 2 best players, so they were excited to keep watching them.
That's all you're going to ride. You're going to ride with them throughout this losing season. So congrats.
Dude, that was us back in the day. All we had was Freddie. So all you just were happy to watch Freddie play.
Yeah, I suppose.
I guess.
But let's keep rolling here. Who's up next?
You really hit that one out of the park, Hayden.
Yes.
I know. Hell of a
transition. Do we want to swing over to the UGA front over here?
Yeah, just swing it on over.
Hayden, I must say, while we segue into my seg here, I had a glimpse into the future when you were talking about, just before you talked about Ian Anderson. You said, speaking of performance, and I immediately traveled to a distant time when we have sponsorships and we do ad reads on this podcast. and it just seemed like the next sentence out of your mouth was going to be something like, try Gatorade G Fuel. It's, it's what we use. Yeah. So
try Rockstar toothpaste.
Yeah, exactly.
Toothpaste makes your teeth feel alive.
Yes. But no. Okay. So, like I said, we're not going to talk too much about Atlanta United. They at least did not lose, which is cool. That's a thing I don't say too often.
Wait, you forgot your intro jingle. Ba-da-ba-da, Sam Soccer Seg.
That's true. Yes. Thank you, Blake, so much. Yeah, that was. This is Sam Soccer Seg, sponsored by Sam, the soccer guy.
Pays you for this.
Oh yeah, he gives me $10 every week, and a little something else on the side. So, so basically, we went up to Chicago, where Atlanta have both never won and never scored. And guess what, folks? We didn't end either of those streaks.
What a weird streak to such a bad team. Like, Chicago's not been good the whole time.
And it's not that we've never beaten them. We've beaten the shit out of them in years past in Atlanta, but for some reason we just haven't put it together in Chicago. It's also a team we don't play super often. Also, but
fun fact, Chicago Fire were actually my favorite MLS team before Atlanta United came. I don't know why I picked such a bad team, because they've always been bad, but I picked them, and Bastian Schweinsteiger played for them for a while.
He did.
What they have weird name for a MLS team too. because
Yeah.
they're named after a fire that destroyed their city.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Not only that, it's a bit
Basically,
confusing because an extremely popular network television show is of the same name, Chicago Fire. I would say
Probably more popular.
with absolute certainty, more people watch Chicago Fire, the Fox show, than the MLS team.
Do you think if you're just talking to someone and said, "Hey, did you watch Chicago Fire last night?" they would always assume it's that TV show?
I think so, unless it's like in the off season, and they'd be like, I think it comes back on in the fall. I don't know what's going on there, but
yeah, I watched those reruns last night.
They have Xherdan Shaqiri now. I don't know if you knew that.
Shaqiri.
And yeah, old Shaq, he scored a goal that luckily got reviewed by VAR and was called offsides, that little short idiot. And so so anyway, yeah, it was a 0-0 draw. It was at least a better lineup than the past few games from Gonzalo Pineda. Joseph and Almada started. Still no new keeper. So we're going to keep our eye on that, but at least we didn't lose. That's where we're at here with Atlanta United. Now, let's move on to a bit of a happier topic. So, like we talked about earlier in the show, I said I'm going to go over the wide receivers this time because last week we covered a little bit of the running backs. We covered a lot of those holes on defense by the dudes that got drafted. And I tell you what, I think we mentioned this last week, but the position group at UGA that I've never really ever felt comfortable with, even with players like AJ Green and Muhammad Massaquoi coming through the ranks, we've never had depth at the receiving corps. I remember there was a lot of years with Aaron Murray that he was out there just, and granted, some of them were riddled with injuries, but he was out there just directing around a bunch of nobodies that honestly Mark Richt should have never brought to UGA in the first place. And Kirby Smart, of course, had to revamp that, but he has done so. So
it would be interesting to look at, like, during that time period, which recruits, like wide receivers that were from Georgia, that Richt was letting get out of the state.
Yes.
Because
it would be
there's always talent. There's talented wide receivers.
That might be a future Blursed of the week. Mark Richt's tenure at UGA. That'd
be a good one. And honestly, I will say though, I'll give spooky. Yeah. I'll give Mark Richt a little bit of credit. He did know how to recruit quarterbacks. Like he did a good job at that. And as a Tech fan growing up, I will say the one thing I always prided ourselves was that we'd always have equally good running backs as UGA, even though we did the triple option, and we always had better receivers for some reason, even though it's only one. We had like one stud.
Well, yeah, I was about to say you'd have one. Yeah,
but one stud would always better than any of the Georgia receivers.
Yeah, and Paul Johnson would throw it to him like what, 1-2 times a game, maybe,
and get touchdown on both those plays.
Basically. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so let's go over this depth chart. It's the first time, if you guys look at this, I've got the X, Z, and Y receivers lined up there, too deep. And so we're talking about 6 guys that are going to see tremendous playing time this fall. Everybody remembers the Michigan game and, of course, national championship pseudo hero AD Mitchell, the man that was catching those bombs from Stet. He's, of course, going to be the starting X receiver, I think, coming into the fall. Lad McConkey, the man that broke onto the scene last year. Everybody's favorite little lad, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Slot receiver?
Love that.
No,
name.
well, so from what I understand, and all these guys, with the exception of a few of them, are gonna rotate
interchangeable
on the X, Z, and Y, I think. But because Kearis Jackson's who they've got at the Y, which is the slot, but it's not like we're not going to see him line up at the Z or the X on the wideouts roles. So, yeah, I'm extremely excited about that starting 3 right there of AD Mitchell, Lad McConkey, and Kearis Jackson. As long as Kearis Jackson can stay healthy, which has been a problem. What were you going to say, Blake?
I was just going to say it's probably the best trio of receivers UGA's had in probably 20 years. I don't know, since AJ Green and Muhammad Massaquoi.
That's not even a trio. That's a duo.
Right.
But yeah, I would say that there was a time where we had, something close to that. Do you guys remember Justin Scott Wesley?
Yes.
He played the slot receiver. He was such a talent.
Was Michael Bennett there Was that his name?
Yeah, it was Michael Bennett, Justin Scott Wesley, and I can't remember who else we had, but that was a good trio. If I can
not great though.
No, not great, especially given Justin Scott Wesley's career was just ruined by injuries, unfortunately. But anyway, let's get to the next three below them, and specifically one guy, Dominic Blaylock. Okay. Dominic Blaylock he's kind of gotten usurped here a little bit coming into last year. He was looking to be the kind of one of the main guys with Kearis Jackson for JT Daniels to throw to. And turns out we didn't use JT Daniels that much. And Kearis Jackson and Dom Blaylock both got hurt. So that led to a bit of a position change. A.D. Mitchell got thrust into his role as a true freshman. People forget that. He was a true freshman last year.
For sure.
So he did wonders with that role and kind of took over that starting job. So I think Dom Blaylock's going to rotate in at all three positions on the wide receiving core. Another guy that did with limited time but did very well, Arian Smith. He was another freshman last year. And then a guy that I think is going to have a breakout season this year. One of my favorite names of all time that's ever donned the UGA red and silver is Marcus Rosemy Jack Saint, which if you guys recall the Key and Peele skit, he sounds like Jack Marius Tack Theratrix, or perhaps Blake, your favorite, Jarvis Jamar Javarson Lamar.
I think my personal favorite was Donkey Teeth.
Donkey
State.
Teeth. Yes.
What an all-time skit.
I think my favorite there was Sequester Grundlecliff.
What's the short name in that skit?
Dan Smith, BYU.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was
that
that,
was the
but then there was
white guy
one
at the
that was
very
even
end.
shorter.
Budge.
Yeah,
Budge.
that, yes. Budge.
That's the one that sticks out to me, but it's
Yes.
a great all-timer.
Do you guys remember when they won there? I think it was either an Emmy or a Golden Globe or something. No, it wouldn't have been an Emmy. Anyway, that they for best skit of a comedy show, it was that one. And when they got up there for their acceptance speech, they were like, "We would just like to thank all the mothers out there who named their kids these insane names, specifically Ha Ha Clinton Dix. Shout out to your mom." And they're right. Everybody should know Ha Ha Clinton Dix, great safety for the Packers, and was an insane safety for the Alabama Crimson Tide back during their reign of terror over UGA.
Who's that quarterback recently called Major Butts or something like that? It's a
Major Butts.
Y'all know what I'm talking about? I'll look it up.
Yeah, please look up Major Butts. Well, maybe don't type
Careful.
in Major Butts on
Yeah.
Google.
Oh, wait, yeah. What do I type in here?
Yeah. Do an incognito search for that one.
Go to Bing before you do that.
Yes. But anyway, so yeah, we're looking at. Go ahead.
JUCO transfer to Oklahoma's name General Booty.
Oh, General Booty.
General Booty.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Yes.
it is. Hayden, look it up.
my
I saw that on
General
Twitter a few months
Booty.
ago.
Oh, I
That
feel like that's
QB
like a name they wouldn't even let you keep on create a player on a video game.
Yes,
They're like,
exactly.
no, that's inappropriate.
Yeah, I can't do
Booty
that.
with a touchdown.
General Booty. Man, you could take that one so many different ways. But yeah, so Marcus Rosemy Jack Saint, he's super quick, he's super fast. He was a guy last year that every time he touched the ball, I thought that it could go all the way for 6. He did have a bit of a drop issue from what I can remember. So if he can kind of reel that in a little bit, and I think he could have a more advanced role and perhaps move on up this depth chart a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we see some drag routes, some wide receiver screens for him, something underneath. Let him get like you said, like he's a threat with the ball in his hands. So
but I mean, you could also set up. He's the type of dude that you could. I mean, you run the ball with the boys in the trenches 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden you hit him with a little post route on cover 2, and he might just take it all the way. If Steck can get the ball to him, and we all know that he can.
A Donnie Mitchell fun fact here.
Please.
He's 6'4". I didn't realize he was that big.
Yeah. Bigger than he seems. Yes. And that was evident.
I don't know if height or weight is like a fun fact there, Blake.
It is for receivers for me. I'm a huge
fun.
fan of tall receivers. That's a fun fact to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, Blake,
also
not
loves
to one
long
up you.
walks
All
here.
right,
the
listen,
beach.
if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to this on the podcast, please tweet at us or leave a comment saying if you find it's a fun fact how tall a wide receiver is. Like, I find that's a fun fact.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how fun was that fact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put that on
please,
Insta.
let us know. But also, I think that's a bit of Blake's Falcon optimism bleeding over, because as we know,
That's all I got, man.
The Falcons are in such shit position this year that they're like, hey, our wide receivers they're pretty tall.
We'll probably draft
They're
AD
pretty
Mitchell
tall.
next year.
Yeah.
A couple years from now. Yeah.
That would be cool. But anyway, so here is a fun fact, Blake. No offense.
And
that's,
no, it's probably way more fun.
Dom Blaylock, something that I missed over his time here at UGA till now. But did you guys know that he's the son of former Hawks player Mookie Blaylock?
I did not know that.
No.
Yeah, Mookie Blaylock, an absolute standout back in the 90s. I think he played with Dominique Wilkins and Moses Malone, Spud Webb, those guys. He was a big part of those before our current regime of Hawks players. The last time we were good other than the 60 win Hawks. But
Can I tell you his height? Because this will
Mookie
surprise
Blaylock?
you as a basketball. Mookie Blaylock, yeah.
Yeah, was he like 5'9"?
Yeah, he's a 6 foot point guard.
6 foot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, the NBA wasn't as tall back then, but yeah, he is. Oh, that's weird. Why is he not?
He played for the Hawks from 92
Oh, yeah, there it is.
in 99.
Yeah, so he was with Dominique. He was with Moses Malone, those guys. Yeah, I mean, in fact, it says here, where is it? Yeah, he's the Hawks' all-time franchise leader in three-point field goals made.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy.
Well, Trey's going to beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trey's going to beat that.
One would
But anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool, though.
That was really cool.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Hayden?
No, one would hope Trey beats
one
that
would
record.
hope.
But it is kind of a common thing at UGA that every couple of years we have like a historical athlete, their spawn coming through our system.
Yeah, what was he, Evander Holyfield?
Yeah, Holyfield was here a couple years ago. One of his sons what was his name? Elijah Holyfield.
Elijah.
But he also had like multiple sons that were named Elijah Holyfield or something.
Elijah Holyfield, I think,
just got wild.
I think he just got hurt recently.
Does he still play with the Panthers?
He's on the Bengals.
That was a kid. Didn't he have a year left of eligibility and he should have stayed and he didn't get drafted? Yeah.
No, I think the Panthers drafted him, didn't they? Or did they just sign him?
Or just really late, maybe.
I just know he went way later than he should have, or he didn't get drafted at all.
Yeah, it's like, look, if your family's hard on money, if you've come from nothing and you want to go ahead and get out there and get that bag, I totally get it. Your dad's Evander Holyfield.
Undrafted free agent.
Maybe stay at UGA for another season, you know? I don't think that the Holyfields were hurting on money. They might be hurting on ears, but definitely not hurting on money. Whoa, too soon? Too soon on the ears?
It would have been way too soon if you said knees, because he actually just got hurt at practice and he's on IR now.
Okay, that happens, but his father had his damn ear bit off, Blake. Jesus.
Well,
ears and shoulders, knees and toes.
Knees and toes.
I'm okay. I didn't want this to be the Mookie Blaylock segment, but I'm kind of looking at some other. Apparently, he got mentioned at a couple other things.
Get it?
I'm looking. Yeah, this is verified by there was an article in the Seattle Post Intelligencer in 2007 and in Pop Matters. Apparently, the band members of Pearl Jam originally named their group Mookie Blaylock after the basketball player, but were forced to change the name. And then they changed it to Pearl Jam. It's kind of crazy. I would have to do some deeper research on that, but it is cited here from that article. And then also, here's a hilarious name of a book. In Tom Robbins's 1994 novel, Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas, the character Larry Diamond uses the name Mookie Blaylock as a pseudonym for hotels. So I don't know what
it's a fun name
from that. It is a fun name. It's fun to say.
I don't know what to glean from that either.
Yeah, there's not really much to glean from it other than Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas is an extremely unique name for a book.
That's a good band name as well.
It is. Yes. So we've had a couple good band names here mentioned on this episode. But yeah, so let's move on a little bit from the wide receivers there. And the other thing I'd like to talk about coming into this UGA football season, and that's the man at the helm, you know. That's old Stetson Bennett the fourth. Okay, to you people that aren't UGA fans. He won the hearts of many after his heroic and at times unlikely performance at the helm of UGA's first championship season in 41 years. You know, the year before he lost the role to JT Daniels in the fall going in, lost, you know, or didn't take the role back from JT. Then JT got a little bit hurt and he never looked back after that. Led us to a undefeated regular season. And obviously, you know, the rest is of course history.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that Stetson Bennett was right up there with Rudy, and I think he's going to have his own movie. Like, I
right
think
up there with Rudy,
in the sense of, listen, Rudy's such a feel-good story about what Rudy accomplished and how he was able to get onto the field, and it's very similar to Stetson Bennett, but Stetson Bennett blows the Rudy story out of the water because
so much so that I don't agree with that comparison.
Well, I'm just saying, like Rudy, he'll have his own movie.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I get you.
I think I cannot wait for him. He's going to be the best insurance adjuster in the Athens-Clarke County area for many years to come. So
either
anybody that's local, check him out next year. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Either that, I was about to say, if he doesn't do that, I could easily see him on like 20 years from now. We see commercials of come on down to Stetson Bennett's Ford dealership in Blackshear. You know,
I can see it now.
Yes.
Those cars are going to sell themselves. My word.
They would.
Official truck of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yes. But yeah, so if you guys see here, I've got his career stats season by season up. What's it going to take for him to be noticed, regardless of his height, this upcoming season, stat-wise, for him to get noticed by NFL scouts? Last year, he threw for 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And from that type of role that he was, 7 interceptions is, that's a great ratio. But 7 picks is actually a little too many for me, to be honest with you. I was surprised when I saw that he had 7, or when Blake mentioned it last week, that he had 7. I was hoping that he was around the 4 to 5 mark based off of how many times he was asked to throw the football, which was less than 300 times. Go ahead.
Here's why I don't think he ever will. He may make a practice squad, and he's a great college football story. But what the Georgia Bulldogs are asking him to do when he goes on the field is to manage the game. It's not to, I will be honest though, in the biggest game of his life, he did step up and I think he helped win us the game.
He was not. He's the reason we won. One of the reasons we won.
And I think he helped win us the game. But I think in his Georgia career and what he'll do again this year, he'll be asked to manage the game. We're going to run the ball some, we're going to pass the ball some, be efficient, don't turn the ball over. Just, you know what I mean? You don't have to do much.
No, I get it.
And so I think that's going to be,
and I agree.
And I think what could hurt us this year, because we or maybe our defense isn't as good as last year's. It probably won't be, just based on all the talent we lost. And so I think we sometimes are going to miss that at the quarterback level, but maybe the rest of the team itself on the offense can help push us past that, like some of his deficiencies. Because not a fun fact, but he is only 5'11", 190, small guy. Like, he's a smaller, and he doesn't have the Drew Brees arm. He doesn't have the Drew Brees accuracy. So I just don't see him getting onto that pro level unless it's maybe a practice squad somewhere.
Yeah, so I agree. Like, unless there's like a scheme change and we stop running the ball so much. But like Bryce Young, for example, had 4,500 passing yards last year to Stetson Bennett's 2,600. And like the passing attempts, I mean, he had like such a down, like Bryce Young had 491 passing attempts versus 261 or 2.
What are you looking at? It's 287.
It's a random website that was made on WordPress, so I assume mine are correct.
Okay, there it is. But anyway, yes. I totally agree. So let me throw this number out at you guys real quick while we wrap this up.
Yeah.
What if the offense is changed a little bit? What if, because the big names at running back aren't there anymore? I don't think this is going to happen. I think it's Kendall Milton and McIntosh's show, but Milton and Mac, if you will. But what if he goes out and throws like 40 touchdowns and 2 interceptions?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. that
He'll be backing up Mac Jones.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wouldn't be
That's
surprised
fair.
in the sense because our talent's so good around him. I
Right.
know we're going to get into this next week. A little sneak peek. The tight end group is incredible. Your wide receivers
God,
you just
it
named
is.
is the best receiving core we've had at UGA, and I don't know how many years. Our running backs,
And they're still not better than the tight ends either.
yes, exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And then our running backs may not be as experienced overall, but we still have. I mean, they all got the dog in them. Like they're going to get after it. The offensive line is
got
still
that
going
dog in them.
offensive line is still going to move the chains, move the trench forward. So I think there's all these things. If you ask me, I think he should have a better year than last year. I mean, you're hoping probably to throw.
I
over
think the offense
3,000
is going to be
yards.
better. Absolutely.
Yes, and so I think you're hoping to see 35 touchdowns, maybe still in the ballpark of between 5 and 10 interceptions, just because he isn't.
Well, and it's like if he does air it out a little more, let's say he gets 350 passing attempts, then yeah, 7 to 10 interceptions is understandable at that point.
Yeah, but I think he could easily go 35 touchdowns. What I'm going to tell you right now is our whole team's going to have to play well in these big games in order for us to win those games, though. It can't fall onto him passing.
Wow,
like last year, our defense bailed us out of so many games.
Really, the whole team's going to have to play well for us to win?
Yes. Well, because
hashtag analysis.
Well, yes. No. But like for the Alabama, Bryce Young can probably single-handedly carry some games. Just him.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's
and
fair.
he's obviously certainly.
I mean, it's the difference
Young.
when you're quarterback. I mean, quarterback's the most important player on the football team.
Of course. All right.
Bryce Young,
Well,
future
other than
Falcon.
the center, yeah, it goes center then quarterback.
Oh yeah, and then on the defense side, they have Will Anderson, who's the second. Like that's the number one most important part on the defense.
Of course,
sacking the quarterback.
So yeah, that was a combo of Sam's Soccer Seg of the Week and UGA football preview. We're gonna keep doing that going forward. Blake, what do you got for us?
Yeah, way to pass me that segment right there. Again,
that was a Stetson slant route.
Crispy.
Ooh,
if you've ever seen one.
Yeah, I'm gonna slam dunk that over the upright as I celebrate my basketball terms. Thank you, Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, he played basketball. People don't know that.
Yeah, people don't know that. You would know based on him dunking over the. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. Anyways, a little bit of Hawks news going around. DeJounte. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. Like, you have DeJounte Murray, but DeJounte, and that's our 3 best players.
Names are so weird.
Names are strange.
DeJounte. So the 3 of them were at a Pro-Am game in Seattle. Actually, it came out today. DeJounte Murray was tweeting out saying, "Hey, other pros, play at these events because it's a way for fans to see us for free. Like, come out and see us for free."
Which is pretty sick.
It was pretty sick. It was really cool coming from, I saw on Twitter, other fans of other teams were saying, "I'm now a DeJounte Murray fan because of this," which is like, bring him on. Come watch the Hawks. What a good time to join.
Yes.
So they're in Pro-Am. If you have not watched, just Google Hawks players play at Seattle Pro-Am. You'll be able to find this clip. There's a clip where Trae Young is on this on the side. I guess, what's it called? What's the side of the court called in basketball?
Sideline.
Is this called the sideline? Yeah, the baseline, and then I guess it is sideline. All right. Learning as we go. So yeah, he's on the sideline. He dribbles through someone's legs around them. Don't make fun of me. I just want to make sure.
You're just making us happy.
Yeah.
We're just happy.
That's what humans do when they're happy.
There's a lot of lines on that court. It can be confusing.
Yeah.
There's a 3-point line. There's a free throw line. There's a half court line.
The rim. Yeah.
Timeline.
Timeline. Oh, good call.
Can we go to a different timeline? I'm just kidding. All right. Anyways,
one where you didn't say that. Yeah.
No, because that.
This is where I benefit because I edit the episodes. So Blake, this is just gonna stay in. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, we should. Yeah, now it's gonna be like Marvel, and we'll transition into another multiverse real quick. So rewinding. So yeah, Trae Young on the sideline dribbles around a guy, passes it up to DeJounte Murray, who bounces it off the rim to John Collins on the alley-oop slam. They went on to win the game. This is playing against obviously it's against amateurs, but these are high-level amateurs playing in tournaments. And also there's a couple of former pro players on another team. Trae Young scored 37 points, had 13 assists. DeJounte Murray led the team with 39 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. And John Collins had 27 points and 17 rebounds. So,
all right.
Wow. What other sport can you actually go and watch professionals play for free like that? That's pretty awesome.
It is. No, it really is a cool thing.
It had to be electric, and they are doing things they wouldn't normally do for the fans there. Like, that was the cool part. Like,
and it is also unique to basketball because, like, when it comes to what you do to get better at the sport, how you practice, football, soccer, baseball, they all have different drills, different mini games, things like that. With basketball, the way to get better at it is play basketball.
Yeah, Hoopers, dude.
That's
Fair
it.
enough.
On the Old Man of the Three, JJ Redick's podcast, he talks about all the time to people like Kevin Durant, and they say Hoopers are just in the gym. That's what they do. They just go to the gym and shoot. Man. Like, I'm sure they have a couple weightlifting and some cardio stuff they do, but it's mainly just hooping.
Hey, let's just play ball.
Just as an equivalent, I would absolutely love if they just like had Major League Baseball players, like wherever they spend their off season, they just took batting practice in like random locations, like not even baseball fields, just like, hey, we're setting up on this golf course over here, and we're gonna watch him take BP and just see how far it goes.
Hey, there's a kids wiffle ball tournament over here.
Yeah. Oh my god, that'd be so fun.
That'd be sick. I mean, I think golf's kind of comparable in the sense you have the pro-am where they play with amateurs, so like that's a little unique to golf, being able to play with a pro on like while they're playing in a tournament.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's kind of similar. But yeah, so exciting thing about this was just watching the three play together. I think as an Atlanta Hawks fan, it gets me super excited to see our three best players playing together during the summer. And also just last week, Lou Williams, who's no longer a Hawk, but he was playing in a tournament with Big O and DeAndre Hunter. All three played together in a tournament as well. So we're having Hawks players all playing together.
Skip to my Lou.
Yeah. And they don't have to be doing this either. This isn't team mandated, right? This is their choice.
They go do that. Yeah.
This doesn't says a lot about like the team.
I think the team's really pissed off about how last year went, and they want to change it this year.
They fucking should be.
And what's cool though is if you're not a Hawks fan right now, you're probably sleeping on the Hawks big time going into this next season.
Yeah, because if you're a Hawks fan or not a Hawks fan, or if you're a Hawks hater, even you're thinking, okay, the year they went to the Eastern Conference Finals was indeed a fluke, but obviously we don't think that.
Yeah, not at all. And I think DeJounte Murray is the perfect complementary player. And listening to Brad Rowland's podcast, shout out to Brad Rowland again.
Shout out.
He was talking to someone who covers the Spurs about DeJounte Murray, and he was talking about, hey, so DeJounte Murray averaged, I think, 7 rebounds last year a game. He goes, are those real rebounds? And he goes, no, those are real rebounds. Like, these aren't because people in the team are bad around him. It's because he makes it. We're not talking about Russell
Westbrook rebounds here. All right, we're talking about actual rebounds that he earned.
He made it a point to crash the boards on the defensive boards, so that way he could start a quick break really quick. And I'm super excited to watch that with Trae Young, because he'll be able to kick it up to Trae real quick, and then it's just going to be such a fast, electric atmosphere. Also, DeJounte Murray, something to think about. A lot of people are asking, well, how's he going to fit in with Trae Young? They both played one. They're both the primary player, but DeJounte Murray was only a primary player once in his career. That was last year. Every year before that, he was the number 2 person and the number 3 person. So he's actually used to being the number 2 on the team. And I think it's actually going to help elevate his play as well.
Because he played with DeMar the year before, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, the last year was his first year as the number 1, and he put up an all-star year and had almost averaged a triple-double. Like, he had an incredible year, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, and 20 points. I'm pretty sure, something like that. So I just think with Trae, letting him kind of move off that a little bit, it's going to open up his game more, also open up Trae's game more. That's going to be a really exciting time. So looking forward to it. Basketball doesn't start officially till October, though, so we'll start doing our team previews and stuff like that coming up in September.
Yes,
but something else that's happening right now is Falcons training camp. We just last week was the beginning of it. This week started pads. Super exciting. They're out there. I would like to show this is something I wanted to show y'all was, so day 5 and including day 6, the starting left guard for the Falcons for the last 5 days have been Elijah Wilkinson and not our boy. He's so forgettable right now. The guy from Michigan.
Oh, wait. The starting right tackle, you said?
Left guard.
Oh, right guard.
Left guard.
Jalen Mayfield?
Yeah, Mayfield. So Mayfield started He started the first day of training camp at left guard. And then since then, Elijah Wilkinson has taken over. This is someone they brought in during the offseason to compete at left guard. They believed he would could be an upgrade, and it looks like he is the upgrade.
And I heard at 99 the game, when did we trade for him or did we sign him? Do you remember?
Elijah Wilkinson?
Yeah.
I believe we signed him. I'll Google it while you're saying this.
Either way, I heard a lot of people saying that, like, it was kind of a quiet move when they brought him in. It's exactly what you just kind of said. They were like, yeah, we're just bringing him in to compete. But then apparently people closer to him were saying that basically the Falcons told him straight up, look, dude, we're not handing you the job, but we're also not bringing you here to be a backup. So I think that it was, Jalen Mayfield's to lose, but it was very evident that he was going to lose it.
I mean, it's crazy as Jalen Mayfield gets drafted as a tackle outside of Michigan. He gets brought in here. They move him. They want to move him to guard because they think he has the physique for it. But you got to think, something I was listening to on the radio was that tackle, when you line up, you have a little bit more time to get your hands up on the outside. It's milliseconds, but when you come down to it, you do have a little bit.
No, you do, because in the tackles, especially in the NFL, you're in a 2-point stance.
So you're backing up immediately.
Yeah, your hands are going to be on your waist when you start, as opposed to the guards' 3-point stance. Their hands are on the line.
Yeah. And so apparently that can be a big adjustment when you're first making that switch. And at the NFL level, apparently it kind of just kicked his butt on Mayfield. It's like trying to get up quick, going for guard, and also starting when our starting left guard got injured during the preseason last year and not out for the year. And so then they brought in and honestly, I guess he wasn't you got to push harder in the offseason if you want that starting job. And
exactly.
So Elijah Wilkinson, I'm glad to see that come in. The surprising part to me is actually we obviously signed someone else to come in and compete with Caleb McGarry. But Caleb McGarry started every single day. A lot of people at training camp, including Kevin Knight, who reports for the Falcoholic. So if you want to follow him, he's at Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter.
And that's right tackle now, right?
Yes, Caleb McGarry, he's our starting right tackle. We did not sign him for his 5th year extension. Apparently there's a couple right tackles out there in the NFL right now that we may be able to trade for. So I wouldn't say Caleb McGarry is going to be our starting right tackle at the start of the season yet, but everything's pointing to that he is the best he's ever been physically. He was a lot more fit this year, and he looks the part more this year.
Another thing I want to bring up is I heard on 99 The Game that apparently this wasn't expected, but we have a full-on even battle to be the starting center between Matt Hennessy and Drew Dahlman.
Yes, they're rotating back and forth.
Yeah, which people apparently were not expecting, or people that close to the team. Not saying that Arthur Smith and them weren't expecting it, but yeah, apparently Drew Dahlman is pushing Matt Hennessy much more than folks thought.
Well, is Hennessy the player that was the starter last year and they drafted Drew Dahlman?
I think so. Yes.
Yes. So I think Dahlman is actually Fontenot's guy. And it's like they drafted him last year and they drafted him to compete. If I'm correct, it might be the opposite way around, but one of them was drafted by Fontenot. And I think it was Drew Dahlman. I think it's good. I think it's good that we actually have competition on the offensive line. I think Arthur Smith feels way more comfortable going into this year at training camp. I mean, last year was his first training camp as the head coach. So,
right. Yeah.
So something I have on here as a little note is possibly we make an O-line move before the season, kind of like how we did for Andy Levitre back during our Super Bowl run.
Yes, which was a great pickup.
I mean, he immediately made an offensive line that wasn't good to be serviceable just by getting one more good offensive lineman. It's crazy how if you go from
we got Levitre and
Alex Mack, but I'm just saying like the difference between three to four good linemen is a huge difference. Like just having that 1 weak spot on the line.
Speaking of, I just looked it up, and you were right. Matt Hennessy is who Dimitrov drafted a few years ago to be Mac's successor.
Yeah.
And then they just drafted Drew Dahlman. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think Drew Dahlman is the guy they expected to eventually take the role. I mean, that's why they drafted him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Drew Dahlman does start.
He looks a lot like Chris Pratt from what I'm seeing here.
Which I can't go wrong with that.
No.
All right, so we're going to actually jump into the defense, though. We went into the offensive line last week. I just wanted to give you all some updates on what was going on offensive line because that's super important news for our team.
Right.
Look at the defense. They had a press conference over the weekend. Dan Pease. I won't read this whole thing because it's quite a long. But here's a couple of questions. He's getting asked about the team, and he's basically just tired of the shit. And he goes, "We've been in the top 10 one time out of the last 20 years." He said, "That bullshit's over. Sorry, I'm getting fired up today, but I'm getting tired of this crap. We're going to change the culture of the defense around this freaking place. People are going to start talking about the Atlanta defense like they did Baltimore, like they did at New England. It's going to be the same shit around here. Excuse me. I'm sorry for swearing." But this whole rampage lasts like a minute and a half of him just talking about how, one, the culture here has been shit for years. They've been okay with being we're not in the bottom half. We're number 16. Like, woo, like we're a good defense. Like, and he's like, no, we're not a good defense unless we're the best defense is what he's trying to say.
Absolutely.
And so I just think one, Dan P or Dean Pease. Is it Dan Pease?
It's Dean.
It is Dean. Yeah, I put Dan up here. Dean Pease is one. He comes from winning cultures, and he knows how to instill winning. He's been with Belichick. He's seen what it takes. Because I heard Randy McMichael in 1990 game talking about as a former NFL player. He goes, "You can't win it all during the training camp, but you can lose the season in training camp.
Sure, absolutely.
If you go in with the wrong attitude, with the wrong mindset, if you go in already defeated, feeling like you're less than yourself, we're losing before you even start." And the cool part is, like, Arthur Smith came out and talked about all these projections on the season, how we just USA Today project us to win 2 games this coming season. And he goes, "Well, I remember when the iPhone came out, people were projecting that to be a bust." He goes, "Look what the iPhone is." He goes, so what he's trying to say is people say a lot of stuff.
That one. I wish you hadn't brought it up.
I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say
Corny
it.
as shit.
It is.
Yeah.
That's what coaches say, though. They all have their dumb one-liners. And what all he was trying to say was, though, that's their narrative, and we're going to hopefully change that narrative. And I think we're hearing the right things. I'm just glad we don't have a coach. It's like, yeah, it's just what I felt like. Dan Quinn was that whatever guy. Like, he just was there, happy to be there. But Arthur Smith, like, he says all the right things. He says all the things that make me happy.
I remember back when fire was invented, people was like, "No, it's hot. It's hot when I touch it." But look at it now. Look what it did for the world.
That's going to the Falcons this year. Yeah, for sure.
The wheel. Look at the wheel. Nobody thought it would work.
No one thought the wheel would work.
Look at the wheel now. They're everywhere.
And tell me, which one of you got here without a car with wheels?
Everyone's saying, "Look at the wheel."
Yeah, people are saying it.
I'm from the show me state. You boys better show me something.
So I will say, I looked into some of Dean P's remarks, like, well, how bad has the Falcons defense been? So this is just back to 2010. We've had only 4 seasons.
How many seasons,
No,
Blake?
we only had 2 seasons where our offense has outscored our defense. How many points? Oh, no, actually it's 4. In the last 10 years.
12.
27.
Wait,
27
what do you mean outscored?
So our points per game has been less than our opponent's points per game.
You mean
majority of the time in the last
only
10
twice
years.
have the,
But it's actually,
has our average points per game been
in the last 10 years
more than the opponents?
Yeah, no, we've outscored them 4 times in the last 10 years. So gotcha. 6 of the but most of those times, and every single year almost, our opponents average more than 20 points per game, except for 3 times. The biggest one happening was our best season, which was our Super Bowl run. That was our best defense.
Right, absolutely.
And we still gave up
25.4.
We still gave up 25.4 points a game. So it was just still not crazy. Good numbers by any metric. So what we're looking at is just years of bad defense, not even mediocre defense, bad defense. And here's our depth chart from last year, just to look into what we had. So some of the players you were expecting, the only player that you could name on our team, there's probably 3 players you can name on our team that other NFL teams would know. One was Dante Fowler Jr. They know him for all the wrong reasons, though. Bust.
Oh yeah,
he's been awful. I think he might have had a couple good seasons for the Rams, but it's not hard to have good seasons when you're behind Aaron Donald and a bunch of other defensive stars besides you to make it look better. Then we had Foye Aluakon. Yeah, he just got signed though by the Jaguars, I believe.
Oh yeah.
For huge money.
Didn't he lead the NFL in tackles last year?
He did, but you're going to get a lot of tackles playing for one of the worst defenses.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, it feels like our roles are reversed now. I'm the one that's usually going, oh well, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well,
Kyle Pitts only had those targets because we were losing.
Well,
but yeah, but yes, I did notice you don't have Grady Jarrett highlighted here. Obviously, he's the big name.
Yeah, no, Grady Jarrett, everyone knows. I highlighted the players that left us.
I see what you're saying.
And then AJ Terrell. So AJ Terrell and Grady Jarrett are the 2 that stayed that people would know on our defense. But you come into the 2022 season, and we actually made some really good signings. All 1-year prove me deals. But we signed Rashaan Evans, former first-round pick for the Tennessee Titans out of Alabama. He's been the Mike, so he's been the leader of the Titans defense before. And it's coming out this week that we didn't get a trade Deion Jones. We're probably not going to cut him because the cut savings aren't really worth it.
Right.
But apparently we're not trading him because of his play. We're playing him apparently because of his attitude. He doesn't He's acting like he
Yeah,
doesn't want to be here.
he's kind of tired of being here, and I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either, but also it's like, come on, bro. Like,
but that's also not going to look good for your next team.
It does, yeah, and it doesn't help your current team that's trying to get rid of. I don't want him on the team if he's going to be toxic. Like we were trying to build a new culture.
Well, and so one guy I want to point I want to point out here is way further down the depth chart than I would have imagined, and that's Nick Kwiatkowski. I actually am a huge fan of Nick Kwiatkowski. I didn't know that we had signed to him until just a few days ago, and that is actually pretty promising. I don't know.
Yeah,
can you explain that to me? I don't know why. So what I understood, he was a very promising linebacker, and I don't know why the team he was at would have let him go.
Yeah. So reason being why we have him so far down our depth chart right now to start off with is one, because Deion Jones is showed as a starter on this depth chart. Really what's going to happen is our starters at the middle linebackers are going to be Rashaan Evans and Mykal Walker.
Makes sense.
And Mykal Walker's he's the young guy who has been waiting to take over. Like he's been waiting for Deion Jones and for Alokan to move on so he could take over. Nick Kwiatkowski is going to come in on other packages. So like what Dean P's defense does a lot, he does a lot of sub packages. So there's only a lot of defensive players moving, kind of like Kirby Smart. A lot of players coming on and off the field a lot.
He was a really promising player for the Bears. I mean, like I remember them talking about him like, oh, he's the next like Urlacher.
Yeah, he never lived up to that hype, but he's been
obviously not
right. But he's been one of those promising, like he's valuable depth because he could start in the pinch if you need him to start, but he's also going to put in meaningful snaps anytime he gets on the field. So we brought him in. We also brought in Lorenzo Carter. Go Dogs! We brought him we brought a bunch of people on a 1-year deal. Him, Rashaan Evans, bringing Nick Kwiatkowski. We got Casey Hayward on a 2-year deal, which Casey Hayward's another huge addition. So if you look at our defense, I actually think, the defensive line's still going to be a little bit of a question mark. If you look at our linebacking core and our secondary, we have a great back end of the defense. And I think our secondary, you could argue, could be top 10 in the league.
Absolutely.
If the young guys, if Richie Grant and Jalen Hawkins actually starting over Eric Harris, this depth chart's a little out of date. Jalen Hawkins is starting. If the two young guys, Jalen Hawkins and Richie Grant, have a good season, which everyone's saying in camp they look great. Like they played great defense on Kyle Pitts. He's like, that's who you're judging against. You're judging your defense against our best players. Like those are to me, those are the most important matchups.
One thing that I want to point out also, as far as like you were talking about the defensive line, not being sure about them. I don't know anything about Anthony Rush. Obviously we all know Grady Jarrett and Marlon Davidson, but I think that the way that the Dean Pease's defense is going to go is he's looking for Zoe and Ebiketie to both be hand down defensive ends, depending on the lineup that they're looking at.
No, you're 100% right. And on passing downs, I think Lorenzo Carter will be in more. And then when it's going to be third down, maybe it's just short, third to short, or maybe it's like D'Angelo Malone will be in a little bit more. D'Angelo Malone is going to be another player who's a rookie coming in, who's a just physical specimen. He's a freak with his arms, like has that huge arm strength, super explosive. I think we have a lot of potential to sack the quarterback this year. And like you're saying, Lorenzo Carter and AK will be the starting, basically like your down lineman who'd be on the outside. They're going to contain and go after the quarterback. And Anthony Rush will play on the inside with Grady Jarrett. I wish that was Eddie Goldman. It sucks that he retired, but
yeah,
I mean, you got to hope Marlon Davidson and Anthony Rush, some of these players take a step up. Grady Jarrett's been talking very highly of Anthony Rush.
Also, one thing, sorry, I was just going to say the thing Hayden likes to point out a lot and during the soccer seg is, of course, when someone has a great soccer name. Might I say Jalen Hawkins, phenomenal name for a safety.
Oh my God.
Just insanely good.
I
draft him off of that alone.
Oh, I 100% agree. So I just want to ask y'all the questions. We're kind of getting into this. What's your biggest concern for the defense this year?
For me, I'd say it's what you kind of already mentioned, that it is the defensive line. Like I said, until I sat down and looked at your notes here, I'd never heard of Anthony Rush in my life, and they've got him listed as the starting nose tackle, which, as in this type of defense, we know how important that position is. Grady Jarrett, obviously Grady Jarrett does Grady Jarrett things, but Marlon Davidson has not panned out how we thought he might be also. He's got to take a step up. So I think they're going to have to rely on Zoe, Ebiketie, and Malone to kind of placate a little bit some of the deficiencies on the D line.
Uh,
I'd say my biggest concern is their ability to defend a short field because the offense is not going to be strong, I don't think, in my opinion. So they're going to be in some bad situations via turnovers or just not being able to pick up first downs before we're going to have to inevitably punt. But yeah, that's going to be kind of a tipping point for the defense, I think.
No, for sure. I think something that you have to be good at, especially if your offense might struggle to start the season. I think our offense is one of those things that could get going and be better as the season goes on. And I think Arthur Smith's goal on offense is going to be to run the clock. I think he's hoping to bring the run heavy game back here. He had Derrick
Let's
Henry,
wrap these freaking games up and get that first overall pick.
Well, when your team's not as good in some areas, if you can run well and burn clock, score, and then your defense is stout, you're going to win some football games. I think I agree with Aaron. My biggest concern will be that defensive line. I think our middle linebackers can make up for some deficiencies in the run game. Like I think we have just freak athletes at the linebacker position that's going to really help us. It's what's going to dictate a lot is will someone stand up next to Grady Jarrett and actually really help on the inside.
Exactly. Looking at you, Marlon.
Yeah, no, and Marlon, dude, he was crazy explosive in Auburn. And I actually was one of those picks that I liked that Thomas Dimitrov made in his last year. I was like, oh my God, that could be a good pick. And he just hasn't done anything. Maybe this is his year though. Maybe he shows up. He's been injured a lot too in his defense. So what do you think is the biggest strength in this year?
I think that's easy. That's obviously we've got a top 10. I'm gonna, as big of a Falcons downer as I am, I think it's you kind of hinted at it earlier. I think it's 100% easy lock almost to say that we have and should by the end of the year still have a top 10 secondary.
What are you, Hayden? What do you think?
I think it's a pretty big strength that not much is expected, if that makes sense. That gives the guys kind of like a sense of like, kind of like the same thing with Ian Anderson. Like, fuck it. Like, nobody expects it out of us. So maybe that takes some pressure off them. And then they start going out and playing better than what everybody else thinks it's going to be.
I love that you said that because I really do think obviously people, and this is that time of the year for every sports team everywhere or every NFL fan where you're happy about your team. You're excited. That's what the offseason is for. It's supposed to bring optimism. That's what brings excitement. That's what gets your fans cheered up, is where every team feels like they have a chance before any play is played. So you're supposed to have that optimism. I think it's good for fans to be optimistic about your teams. Like you should want to root for your teams and be happy for your teams and try to find that. You should also be real and like try to set your expectations. Otherwise you're going to be hurt like really badly.
Right.
But I think it's good that you said that, Hayden, that because there's such low expectations for everyone else, that their expectations for themselves are going to be much higher, which could help propel them further. And here's the thing is even by say we're after a couple of weeks, we're looking at like a top 10 defense, people start talking about that can make even boost your confidence even more and make them play even better. So this could be one of those seasons that the Falcons really, I mean, every team controls their own destiny, but in the sense that if the Falcons start to make any kind of headway early in the season, it could help propel them forward. I think winning early is very important for this team. And I think the beginning of the schedule kind of lends them to get a couple wins early. So my big strength for them, I'm going to say it's what would you call the back seven, or what would you call the backside of the
secondary?
Like I know secondary, but I want to include the linebackers. Like I think our linebackers are strength too. Maybe there's a little more question marks there. So I will say secondary as well. Our cornerbacks are both lockdowns. Like what's one lockdown cornerback without having another one? Let's just aim at this other side of the field the whole time. Now with AJ Terrell and Casey Hayward, you're going to have trouble throwing the ball on us. You have two ball hawking safeties who can make plays.
Yeah.
I think if our secondary can play as well they do, and we get that more pass rush and that we think we're going to get this year, I really do think we have a chance to have a top 10 defense. Okay. I was going to ask you.
And I just want to say, I think to your point, you would just say the middle of the defense. If you're not talking about the secondary or the front four, you just say the middle of the defense.
You're right. Or I can say the backers.
Let's give AJ Terrell
the
some
people
kind
who
of
play
nickname.
linebacker.
Like Revis Island.
Oh boy.
AJ Terrell.
Terrell.
Oh,
Terrell. I like that, Terrell. Welcome to Terrell.
Welcome Terrell.
I like that. Yeah, no, and honestly, he gets slept on by the national media too. I think players respect him more than the media
100%.
does. But so I want to ask y'all, what do you think what do you think our limits are this year? Like if you had to pick like a window, like we could either be this high of a defense or this low based on this happening. Like what do you think is the best and worst case scenario?
Well, I mean, I think for the defense as a total,
Yeah, as a total, and just be
I
real.
I don't think I said that the secondary could be a top 10 secondary,
Yeah.
but I think the top end for the defense as a whole is like top half of the league. I think if we're 16th or greater, that's a winning year for the defense.
It'd be major improvements.
I think the lowest though is given that I think the floor is lower than the ceiling is high because of Dean Pease and that secondary. I think that maybe 20th might be our floor. I know that's kind of a tight window between the two.
You're basically saying between 10 and 20, basically.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
I think that sounds pretty optimistic for like what many people are expecting to be the worst team in football.
Yeah.
So that's
except for maybe the Bears, but yes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. USA Today had us as the worst team in football, and I was like looking at it, I was like, there's at least 4 or 5 teams I could say that I believe will be worse, but their fans probably think the same about us. It's so hard when you get that national media bias, and you just don't know. What about you, Hayden? What do you think?
I mean,
I feel like you have more outside view, so you're probably more real.
I mean, I'm more of an offensive guy, if I'm being completely honest. I don't track defenses nearly as much. But, I mean, I'll agree with Kai's here. Like, if they're top half of the league defense, then you have to be happy about it. Just because we're considered one of the worst overall teams. So that would say something about the offense, too, where they're going to end up.
Yes.
But, yeah, like anything in that top half I think is solid. If we start falling into like the bottom, I don't know, 7 or 8 teams, and you're like, okay, that's a disappointment, and we're not building as much talent as we hope.
For sure. I mean, and that's something that Dean Pease came out of retirement to coach under Arthur Smith. He said, I want to coach for an Arthur Smith-led team. And that's why he came out of retirement. And I think his expectations are high, and Arthur Smith's expectations for his defense are high. So I would agree with you. If we're again in the bottom 25, like if we're 25 between 32 and 25, I think changes need to happen next year. Because here's my thing. I know we're still not the most talented football team, but we do have enough talent on defense to, I believe, at least be 20, like you're saying, Aaron. Like, I think that should be our floor. That should be that's my expectation for this defense. Now, if our offense is getting whooped every game, we might see a different story points wise. But we will know that, though. We can talk about those things. We'll be able to tell. Personally, though, I think the highest potential could be we could crack the top 10 if our secondary gets turnovers. If we generate turnovers, I think we could be a top 10 defense. And that will have to come from more sacks and great secondary play. If those things happen, I believe we can be a top 10 defense. If the sacks still don't come, I think, like you said, I think the floor is 20. Like it has to be 20th. Like the secondary is too talented.
So, just because of how good they are.
Yeah,
or they should be.
They should be. I mean, that's my expectations for them. And when you think about that, that's why I feel a little more optimistic about this year's Falcons team or last year, because I just think our defense is actually going to be much better than what it's been in years past, which is exciting as a Falcons fan.
It is.
So I think something we're looking forward to next year, just kind of looking ahead, because we know this isn't going to be that playoff year per se. Where do you think what needs to be addressed next offseason? Because the next offseason, the cap opens up and we have the draft again. Like if you had to draft or sign a player, and you don't have to tell me any names, just like what position are you drafting or signing for?
I mean, yeah, I'd say it's good. It's got to be the offensive line for me, and if not there, the defensive line, both lines.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So next week, something we're going to get into, as we've done the offense this week and defense, or offense last week and defense this week, we're going to look at the Falcons schedule. We're going to get into wins and losses. We'll break down each of these games and each of our opponents and we'll at least go over an overview of their offense and defense, their coaches, and what we think will happen and what's the best case scenario, worst case scenario. We'll give you a little win-loss record. So it should be fun. Yeah. We'll do a deep dive. It'll be really engaging, and it'll just be a big conversational piece between the three of us. So we're super excited for that next week.
Absolutely. Oh,
can't hear you. Muted.
I said it'll be so engaging with our captive audience that can't respond to us.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Well, they can yell at us when they tell us we're wrong.
Oh
true.
yeah. That's why people listen,
yeah.
right?
That's it.
All right, boys. As we were wrapping up here, anything you want to leave the audience with upcoming this week?
I want to talk about Bill Russell for a second. The greatest winner of all time passed away just a few days ago. Blake brought up a great thing when he and I were talking about it before the pod, and that was that he played only 13 years in the NBA. And the reason I use the word only is he won 11 championships.
Isn't that nuts? He has 11
That's
rings.
insane. Didn't you tell me he also averaged 23 rebounds a game throughout his career?
I mean, I was trying to look up like what made Bill Russell, because I didn't think he was an elite scorer, and he wasn't. He never averaged over 20 points in a game.
But the man,
But the man got boards, and I think maybe it's because he might have been the tallest player. I don't know. This is back in the late, this is in the 50s when he played, 50s, 60s. So, but he averaged 22.5 rebounds a game, according to basketballreference.com.
Crazy shit. But
Wow.
that 11 ships out of 13 that floored me.
Yeah, nuts. So what I'm looking forward to is actually later in this week for the Blursed of the week. Excited for that second episode to drop on Friday. It's gonna be really exciting.
Yes,
do you know what's
what?
coming for us, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it under wraps a little bit, but I would like to say that it might be a bit topical with some controversy around the NFL and a certain player that might be from the Atlanta-ish area.
Hey, keep it wrapped, Aaron.
Yeah. Oh God. But,
keep it wrapped.
But yeah. So we're gonna see how that goes, see how that turns out.
And because now I'm known for fun facts, my fun fact I want to leave you with going forward is
It's better be fun.
On June 29th, the world set the record for the shortest day on Earth ever recorded.
Wow, we'll go
coming in exactly 1.59 milliseconds under 24 hours.
Sick.
Really thought you were gonna nail us with somebody else's height again.
Fun fact, guys. Let me tell you what Arthur Smith said about iPhones. Anyway,
so my thing I want to leave you guys with: the Braves have a 5-game series with the Mets this week.
That they do.
We're going to New York, and hopefully we can take at least 3 of those and start taking away a little momentum.
That as well. I actually just looked it up. The Braves are up 2-1 on the Phillies right now.
There we go.
And Eddie Rosario has both RBIs, folks. He's seeing
there we
things.
Go.
Oh, he's back.
Yes.
Clear eyes, full heart, can't miss the ball. And I would like to also shout out, if you guys haven't heard of the Aussie Albies Foundation, it's really cool. Ozzy's obviously hurt right now, but he does a lot of work with sheltered dogs and getting them placed in homes. Even like he has
That's
something
awesome.
set up with the Braves where he brings a sheltered dog to the stadium and lets people meet and greet. So check out the Aussie Albies Foundation, and he's just doing really great work. And he's a great player for the Braves, and he's a good person too.
Yes, sir.
And I would say he's just blessed. Like, he is the blessed side of Atlanta sports.
He's a charming guy. It's hard not to fall in love with him real
Absolutely.
quick. But alrighty, well, that's going to do it for this week. Special shout out to our friend Oh No that put our music together. Check him out on our link tree as our music man. And shout out to Jess and Kinsey for all their help. Thank you guys so much for listening. Like, review, whatever. Follow us on social media. Leave only good reviews, by the way. Tell everybody. We're trying to gain a little bit of traction here with our social media blitz, so don't get annoyed with us. Thanks for listening. Come back next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.